I'm Eileen Nash. Join me every week as we meet interesting people who will teach you new, creative ways to manage stress and embrace vitality in your life. Grab a cup of tea and join me for this adventure. If you've ever longed to release old mental and emotional patterns and wish to feel more comfortable in your own skin, you are going to enjoy this chapter of Restore Your Caring Soul. Dorothy Fitzer is a body-centered psychotherapist who is also a shaman. She's familiar with the subtle energy body and will demonstrate easy-to-incorporate Qigong movements. Hi, welcome to Restore Your Caring Soul. My special guest today is Dorothy Fitzer. She is a very special person in my life because I met you several years ago. And I remember I was out in a parking lot at a job that wasn't very good for me, and I said, I need some help. And you just interpreted everything for me. And so I thought that she will be a great guest to talk about actually her special area of psychotherapy. So she's a somatic psychotherapist. She works with the Feldenkrais method, and she is a shaman. And you also do energy work. So tell me a little bit more.
When I was an adolescent, I started dancing, and that was rather late. So I really just kind of threw myself in, and I started doing a lot of what you could call somatic work or body-centered work. Mm-hmm. I started with the Alexander technique and getting Rolfed and everything as a young person. And in my early 20s, and I also did got an undergraduate degree from UCSD in psychology, and never thought I'd go back to that again. And it was not as open-minded as I would have liked it to have been. But as I was doing all the body-centered work and my tissues started opening, as they say, the issues are in the tissues, I started reliving a car accident I had been in at the age of 4 that I had been completely cut off from all the emotions for. But then it started coming up again, and I started reliving it every other night. And even though it was challenging, my highly curious brain was saying, wow, this is really interesting. You cannot separate the body and the mind. And I thought, well, if I'm going to work in a body-centered way, I have to know more of what I'm doing. And so that intrigued me to get back into my psychological studies. But my Alexander technique teacher at the time, who was getting concerned about me with the reliving of the accident, because I had apparently undiagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder, encouraged me to call this shaman he had been working with. And that was very much out of my worldview at that time. I was a pretty sheltered child. And after I did my first soul retrieval with this gentleman, which basically involves him sort of, you could say, interfacing on a subtle level, whether you want to say with spirit guides, energy, whatever, reconnected me with what you would call split off parts of self. Mm-hmm. If I was to say it as a psychologist, from a psychological perspective, I would say things I'd been highly dissociated from, and they reintegrated. And so after that one soul retrieval, I literally never relived that car accident again.
That's amazing, the power of that.
Yeah. I still had to process it, but it was now processing. You're used to the process.
Yes.
And rather than being stuck. And so that's when I really got, you cannot separate the body, mind, and spirit. And shortly after that, I went back to graduate school up here in the Bay Area at the California Institute of Integral Studies. That was much more open-minded. And because of chronic pain and injuries, I ended up getting into the Feldenkrais method, which is a body-centered learning method to move very efficiently with ease and comfort. Helps you get more comfortable with what's uncomfortable. And I became a very serious practitioner of Qigong and Tai Chi, the Taoist practices. Because in my younger years, having been a dancer and I did a little bit of modeling, I'm like, I'm tired of industries where you're pretty much kaput by the time you're 30.
I agree.
I want to do something that I can continue to master till the day I die. And so that's why I got really intrigued with Qigong and Tai Chi. And when I first became a psychotherapy intern, and I was working with someone specializing in anxiety and panic disorder, she encouraged me to bring in all my previous knowledge. And as I started bringing in all this somatic or body-based work, I started getting incredible results with anxiety. Like, people were reporting, you know, that talk therapy is great, but that Taoist breathing stopped the panic attack.
Yeah,
You know,
that's very powerful.
And I was like, really?
Yeah.
And then, you know, a few years later, I finally got the courage to come out of the shamanic closet, because over that time I'd been trained by this gentleman to be a shaman. And I didn't want to be out about that for a while, because I wanted to be taken seriously as a therapist. But then I realized it's such a powerful tool in helping the process move more quickly and efficiently. I do not have the right, because of my own sensitivities, to hold that back from my clients. So then I integrated all that.
So that's actually one of my questions is, what is a shaman, and how did you learn to become a shaman?
I'm cautious with the word shaman because it's used so much in popular culture right now. It's actually, to the best of my knowledge, originally a Siberian term. Most people use it to refer to Native Americans, but I think its actual origination is Siberia. Traditionally, you might think of that as the medicine man or woman of a tribe. Mm-hmm. It's someone that you could say directly interfaces with the subtle realms, with the spirit realm, with the energetic realm. And again, for me, what's important to me is that that is a being that honors everything. It honors the harmony and connection with everything for the purpose of healing, for bringing wholeness to what has been ruptured. And so different shamans might use very different techniques. The bottom line, again, for me, is that you are in complete harmony and holding the space of healing for that being on all these realms. And the name of my business I took very seriously, which is the Embodied Soul Center.
I love that name.
Yeah, because I feel that's what I'm meant to do. That's my lesson here, is how to be a fully embodied soul. The importance of the somatic psychotherapy is I found that when I just addressed the subtler realms without healing the nervous system, it was like bringing in these soul pieces that would literally trampoline off of it, like a dysregulated or highly stressed out nervous system. Mm-hmm. So it's like you want to create, the body's like this rich soil for the plant to take hold. And so healing, bringing the nervous system back into healthy regulation. I'm getting up on my soapbox here. One of the biggest mistakes mankind made is to think we're smarter than evolution or God or whatever you want. The brilliance in our DNA to right itself, to heal itself, to be in alignment with everything. You know, when I spent some time in Africa on safari years ago, I'd watch these animals almost getting eaten, and then a half hour later, you know, just eating grass or whatever, they're fine. Mm-hmm. That's the brilliance of the wild
animal.
Right,
they're still not totally taken out.
Because their biology knows how to right itself. But why are humans so chronically traumatized? Yeah. Why do we have anxiety disorders? Why do we, I mean, I could go on and on about a million reasons why, but one of them is we're the most overly domesticated animal on the planet. Mm-hmm. And we've lost that connection with our divine right, of the brilliance of our biological heritage. And so for me, there's no separation between the brilliance of your biology and the brilliance of your spirit. How do we bring those together?
But I would want to explore the stress reaction and how a person can start having a different habit. Because one of the things I think is that this can become a habit. It's your go-to place.
Your default mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, our nervous systems get programmed early on. And you know, one of the things I always say, don't get me wrong, I love being a talk therapist, but it is such a minute tip of the iceberg, because our nervous systems primarily got, you know, calibrated way before we have any conscious memory. You know, it's our implicit memory, it's the body memory. Our nervous systems are still developing immensely for a long time after birth. And so we don't come out with this pristine, already wise, I know what's safe and what's threat. No, that's learned.
I'm so glad you're talking about this.
Yeah, and that can be really messed up.
It can.
You
And
know,
there are the babies in the ICU.
yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I'm getting chills now.
Me too.
Because people underestimate the trauma of medical interventions. You know, even birth. Oh, everyone's alive, everyone's fine. Forget about it. But that's just our conscious mind, because medical intervention is normal within the social context. You know,
Right.
so your social construct of it is fine. But a lot of times your body could be going, holy shit, I just got cut open. I just got put under. I got held down. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm working with a new client, I said, we need to redefine trauma. You know, people are like, oh yeah, the car accident, oh yeah, the earthquake, oh yeah, the abuse, whatever, things like that. But, you know, what about being a preemie and being in an incubator for 3 months? Mm-hmm. With the medical trauma, again, a lot of it's like in your body. Your body's going, this is not okay. Your head's going, I'm fine. So not as much to talk about.
I went and visited Dorothy in I was stressed out and holding energy in my body. And so I didn't want to just do talk therapy. And the reason I'm going to show you some tools that I worked with Dorothy is because, you know, it's open. You can talk with your therapist and say, I have this art thing I did. I want to talk to you about it. So you've seen this on a previous show. This actually was called Shiloh didn't call it a soul retrieval, but another shaman that I had met did. And I explained this whole story with Dorothy. And I started to kind of get in touch with it. And then I was also getting to know the Cosmic Cowgirls, and I started art journaling quite a bit, and I came up with this one, which it's funny now, and it was actually at the time, because people talk about their spirit animal. Well, this is my spirit vegetable. Because I would go to the therapist and we'd talk about things, but then there'd be a new layer. I would feel so good. I got it going on, and then there'd be the new layer. So the art can be very helpful, and it also is a direct line to your therapist to say, this is a picture of what I'm going through. So, you know, consider it. I'm not a therapist. I'm not talking from that. And then the next thing that I did with Dorothy, which turned out to be really healing, was I've talked about that I had procedures from an infant to about age 5. And so I said, well, I want to work with a doll. And she said, bring your doll and we'll be safe and we'll work together. And so I said, well, maybe we'll reenact the sort of like the procedures on the doll. And what happened was I brought the doll in and I just talked with Dorothy and I said, I cannot hurt this doll. And then I started taking care of her. And then it morphed into a whole nother thing where the doll would be sitting at the table or standing with her arms up or playing my drum, and I took pictures of her, and so I recorded this journey over time. And so anyway, it was just so huge, and I do publicly want to say thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. So, you know, if this calls to you, talk with your therapist or a practitioner about it, and see if this is something that is powerful for you.
Can I elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes.
The brilliance of the doll. And, you know, going back, because you were saying, you know, how might this work look? Excuse me, it gave me tears. This is an example of the wisdom of your body coming through. And there's a lot of terms classically used in the psychological field that I think we need to re-examine And one of them is projection. You know, I don't know when it happened, like in the 80s or something, projection became a dirty word. Oh, you're just projecting.
Yes.
You know?
I know.
But, you know, one of the things when we're really working with the nervous system is what we might call titration. You know, like working with the spigot on a, you know, the water. You know, you don't want it all off and on. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're dealing with stress, whether it's old trauma, difficult emotions, difficult situation, you don't want to think that every time I look at this, I'm going to turn the dang thing on full blast.
Right.
And so projecting is one way the organism is titrating the problem. It's too much for it to be in me right now. I need to see it out here and keep it at a safe distance. Mm-hmm. And that's the brilliance of the doll. It's like if I had to go through all of this, you know, because if you think about it, if you're an infant, if you're a young child being poked and prodded and da-da-da-da, and, you know, I mean, God bless the doctors and nurses, they're doing the best they can. Right. But your little nervous system is freaked out. And from this comfort level, not on that level, not getting the care you need. So if the first time you want to wade into that thing, you don't want to die. I mean, you don't, you know, like the proverbial father at the end of the dock throwing the kid in and saying, swim!
Right.
We don't want to do that. The nervous system's going to freak. So, you know, we want to shepherd the projection into something that's titrated at a distance, you know. At a distance, I can manage this. Mm-hmm. And gives, again, looking at the wisdom of your organism, using something that's fun,
yes,
creative, giving you channels of exploration that are positive and activate the ventral vagal part of the system. This is interesting, this is fun. And so you're integrating resources because you're an artist, you love it. So that was brilliant.
Well, thank you, and you helped me.
I was following your lead.
So one of the things I would also like for you to talk about is then how do you use Qigong?
Well,
and why?
Yeah, why is when we're, again, going back to safety, is we're trying to get the system out of a chronic stress response. And that shift does not happen easily only showing at my office once a week. You know, some people, because of finances, might only make it every other week. You're wanting to create a new resilient baseline in the nervous system. So I really encourage people to develop a daily practice. And one of the things we'll get to is I have at least a couple dozen free videos on YouTube if people just look up my name on there for that purpose. They're nice and short because you know, I know a lot of people have time initially creating the commitment. They're only 3 to 5 minutes. But eventually it's good if you really want to like get in that slot of retraining the nervous system. I recommend at least 20. But Qigong, which if I were to explain it very, very basically, as you could say, it's an exercise. But what are the purposes of the exercise? And a high percentage of Qigong, which most of them are based on, you know, the same theory as Chinese medicine, working with the meridians, the 5 elements, things like that, and the concept of Qi, meaning like there's this rivers of energy moving through us all the time, and we're wanting to, you know, just like your garden hose, take out the kinks. So the blood, the lymph, the spinal fluid can move properly. If the blood's not moving properly, it's not nourishing the organs. If the lymph's not moving, the lymph is like the waste management department. We got to get this stuff out. And then the spinal fluid, all that. If it's not moving properly, health goes down. Same thing with Qi. And but when I teach clients, the first level of it is for relaxation. because it is incredibly relaxing. You know, we can start one exercise. Bruce Francis, who was my main teacher for many, many years, he had this, and you'll see this on my one of my free videos on YouTube, but we'll do it real quick.
Okay.
Is this concept of circularity, because circles are inherently relaxing and soothing to the nervous system. So just twiddle your thumbs. And, you know, what we're looking for is a size and a speed that is inherently relaxing to the nervous system. And one of my favorite sayings of Bruce's would be the Goldilocks point. Not too fast, not too slow, not too big, not too small. What is that perfect size where your nervous system, I call it the dog effect. You know, when your dog settles next to you and at a certain point and they just kind of go.
Yes, I know that.
So you're finding that size and speed that gives you the, and you know that's ratcheting down the nervous system. So you're trying, and I'm going to tilt my hands for the camera, you're trying to make it as circular and smooth as possible. Now here's the trick. We're going to link the breath with the circle.
Great.
Half
Perfect.
the circle's the inhale, half the circle is the exhale. You'll notice as you're going along, somewhere in the movement and or somewhere in the breath, you're going to hit speed bumps. Like it's going to get choppy, you know, and that lets you know when there's glitch points in the nervous system. You don't have to know what they are. And what you're going to do is, what do you do when you're driving your car and you come to a speed bump? Hopefully, you slow the car down and you drive smoothly over the speed bump. So as you're going along, again, either in your breath or in the movement, when you notice you're coming to a speed bump, kind of go, I'm just going to slow the car down. I'm gonna do my best to relax through the speed bump.
I love this. So you could go do this at work.
You do that
You're
anywhere.
stressed out.
Yeah.
Just go in a conference room.
Yeah. And that's almost all of my free videos on YouTube are meant that you can do it in front of the computer, and like you can even do it microscopically so people don't. So you can, if you don't want people to see you twiddling your thumb, you could sort of like, oh, I'm going to draw the circle with my nose. I'm going to draw it, you know, if you want to get really well, I'm going to draw it with my tailbone. I'm going to draw it with my shoulder blades or my toes. And so it doesn't have to be thumb twiddle.
I like the thumb.
And now go the other direction. You might find one direction's easier or harder than the other. But what you can do eventually is play with finding this circular action in any joint of the body. So it's a great way to reduce, relax the nerves. It's a great way to improve mobility, reduce pain and tension. It's fabulous.
So do your shoulder and do
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
So now you also do some other, you have other things that people can participate in. You have healing circles.
I do. It's really important to me to give back. I'm a really busy single mom, and so I don't get to volunteer or do pro bono as much as I'd like. So I try to do it in the big whammies, like the free videos that are the gift that keeps on giving. And then on the fourth Sunday of every month, I do a healing circle call. And those are usually around 6 p.m. on Sundays of the fourth Sunday.
In the U.S.
In the U.S.
Because there are people, this show goes to many countries.
Yeah,
so.
that's right. I think on my email list I have people from every continent. But you can get on the email list for those if you go to my website. It's really easy, dorothyfitzer.com. And there's like a little box if you opt in I have a free chakra meditation recording. And when you opt in for that recording, you get on my email list. I also do Skype and phone sessions.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Yeah.
Join me next week to explore the power of music. You will meet a lifelong singer, a chorale director, and a professor of choral music. We discuss real-life effects of singing on the body and mind. If you're drawn to singing, don't miss this episode.